You know the exact feeling of sitting in the dark, watching a screen dim, waiting for a reply that isn't coming. It is the quiet, isolating realization that you are entirely focused on someone else's next move, completely abandoning your own peace of mind. Your internal sense of safety becomes that needle, vibrating with a high-frequency tremor. It's the physical exhaustion of trying to find a stable direction in someone else's unpredictable behavior. It is a universal human reflex to chase after the things pulling away from us. We convince ourselves that if a dynamic is failing, the solution is to apply more effort. We double text, we ask for closure, we push for clarity. We fire off long paragraphs, operating under the illusion that over-explaining our position will give us control over the situation. We mistake this anxious outward pushing for a display of strength, believing that forcing an outcome means we are standing up for ourselves. But this constant outward motion, crossing oceans to seek validation from people who will not meet you halfway, does not fix the dynamic. It simply ensures that you arrive at your own life too exhausted to actually live it. To see exactly how this outward motion guarantees defeat, we look to the year 1905. Japan and Russia are locked in a high-stakes naval war. Japan is only just beginning to modernize its fleet, and the Russian Navy is universally recognized as the superior force. This is Japanese Marshal Togo Heiichiro. He looked at his own fleet and knew that a direct head-to-head confrontation with the Russians would end in total defeat. He needed a strategy that didn't rely on firepower. He decided to use human psychology. Heiichiro planted a rumor. He made sure the Russians heard that their warships could wipe out the entire Japanese Navy in a single decisive strike. It was a perfectly crafted piece of bait. The Russians swallowed it, immediately abandoning their defensive posture and setting sail to attack. This map shows the trap snapping shut. Because Great Britain controlled the quickest route through the Suez Canal and Britain was allied with Japan, the Russian fleet was forced southward. They had to sail 9,500 extra miles, all the way around the southern tip of Africa. As the map illustrates, the journey was punishing. Midway through this massive detour, a second rumor hit the Russian ranks. Japanese warships were closing in for an ambush. It was a complete fabrication, but the exhausted sailors panicked, scrambling to prepare heavy ships for a battle against an enemy that did not exist. This photograph shows Russian sailors from that era. By the time they finally reached the conflict zone near Japan, the men were battered, deeply fatigued, and running on empty. Their energy had been entirely consumed by the journey itself. Compare their state to this Japanese battleship, the Hatsuse. The Japanese forces had simply waited in their own territory. They were fully rested, completely provisioned, and waiting in a state of calm readiness. Despite their lack of combat experience, the Japanese Navy crushed the Russian fleet. They won because Heiichiro understood that forcing an opponent to burn all their energy chasing you guarantees their defeat before a single shot is fired. Every unhealed wound we carry functions exactly like Heiichiro's rumor. These insecurities are psychological tripwires that pull us out of our safe harbor and into a state of frantic, needless defense. Our unhealed wounds and deep-seated fears act as internal bait. They convince us that we must take immediate action, pulling us out of our own skin and forcing us to react to phantoms. Aggression and ego strip away our rational decision-making. When you are operating out of anger or fear, you lose your ability to observe clearly. You take unnecessary steps, you lash out, and you burn your mental energy fighting battles that didn't require a response in the first place. Manipulative situations and toxic individuals rely on you taking this bait. They drop a vague text where they pull away slightly, and then they sit back and watch as you do the agonizing, exhausting work of trying to maintain the entire dynamic on your own. Your immediate reactivity is not a sign of power. The moment you give in to the urge to aggressively chase an outcome or fix someone else's behavior, you surrender your control and drain your own life force. There is a physical sensation that comes with breaking this cycle. It is the feeling of your shoulders dropping. It is the conscious decision to put the phone down, to step back from the urgency, and to simply stop moving. Robert Greene's 8th law of power, making others come to you, serves as a protective boundary for your identity. It is the refusal to abandon your own life to chase a situation that is actively pulling away. You draw a new boundary. If someone truly belongs in your life, they must be willing to travel the distance to meet you. You commit to never again crossing oceans for one-sided situations that leave you depleted on their shores. By refusing to move, you create a momentary gap between a trigger and your response. In that gap, you begin to see the difference between a real threat and a frantic story your brain is spinning to protect itself. This distance allows the nervous system to finally settle, beginning the slow work of putting your scattered pieces back together. As the text says, the aggressive person is rarely in control. Frantic movement is a sign of internal chaos. True, unshakable power is quiet. It is the ability to feel an intense emotion, to recognize a psychological trigger, and to sit perfectly still with it. You acknowledge the feeling without moving a single muscle to immediately fix it. When you stop chasing, the frantic noise finally settles, and in that quiet space, you are left with the only question that actually matters. What does your own heart want to do next?
For more awesome and inspiring videos like this, please subscribe.